Welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Cam Stirling, and today I'm joined by Lucky Roberts and Finn Noel. On today's episode, we will be breaking down our predictions for the 2024 NBA Draft. Before we start, we want to remind you again that everything we say is our own opinions. However, whether you agree or disagree, we invite you to join the discussion on Instagram at Shutter Sports Media or Twitter at Shutter Sports M.
From the little leagues
to the pros.
This is your weekly sports show.
Welcome to the Shutter Sports Podcast.
Take a seat at the table as we discuss. Now, let's get into the mock draft, boys.
I've got the first overall pick. I got the Hawks. This is, I didn't know, people are talking about this a lot as one of the most wide open first overall picks, I think, in quite a while. There's not really much consensus across the league. Not across the league, but just across like different media members.
Yeah, there's not really a lockdown star in this draft that we know of yet. It's a lot of raw overseas prospects.
Yeah. And so, a couple of names I know that have been mentioned here for this pick is Zachary Richasset from France. I know I just butchered that. I'm not French. I'm sorry. And, some other players, I know Klingon was sort of around that. I am going to take my best player in this draft, and I think he fits well with what the Hawks need with their team going on, and I'm going to take Alex Sarr. And something that I absolutely love about Alex Sarr is I'm going to use this one word. He's dynamic, in the way that he impacts the game. And I think that's something that if look at the teams that got deep in the NBA playoffs this year, what they had were dynamic bigs. And dynamicism, what I mean by that is bigs who are mobile, who can move the ball and their bodies, play defense because they're mobile. They're big rim threats, and they can also shoot a little bit. And I know I'm not the highest on Sarr's shooting potential. I know he's flashed a little bit because he shoots a ton. But he's just a really smart basketball player. He moves the ball really well. He gets in transition. He has a little bit of I'm not going to call it a Giannis head full of steam, but he has a head full of steam sometimes. And he's really, really dynamic. He can catch the lob and a great defender by all accounts. And, very mobile. And I think that's sort of the modern big that we see projecting. Sort of the exact opposite of a Zach Edey, And I think that's where the game is moving, is to just a bunch of dudes who are really, really dynamic. And that's what I see in Alex Sarr with this pick. And he fits well with the Hawks because they sort of really need to fix their defense. DeJounte Murray, sort of fallen off as one of the best perimeter defenders in the league, and Trae Young has never been that. So already from just a perimeter defense, they're really lacking. And Alex Sarr has shown. I know there was some clips of him just on the. I think they were playing the G League Ignite, right? And there was a couple of clips on him on the perimeter guarding Ron Holland. And he was able to guard Ron Holland side to side. I know that's an issue of Holland to create off the dribble, but he's been able to defend a Ron Holland who's going to be an NBA player, an NBA wing. So I think he really shows a lot of potential to grow and at least help the guards in Atlanta defensively and offensively. He can be a nice pick and roll partner for Trae Young.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If Sarr goes number one to the Hawks, I really hope he gets the starting job over Capella. Capella's making a lot of money, and it would be beneficial for that roster if he left in free agency. So,
I also just kind of like Okongwu better than him, even.
Yeah, Okongwu is a much better lob threat. He's more versatile on both ends.
He's dynamic.
He's quicker. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Capella. I think his days as a starting big, at least, are very numbered.
He's too old school.
Yeah, with
Sarr can be the beginning. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, with the rumors going around right now about DeJounte Murray and his status with the team going into the future, I'm not sure what the Hawks are going to do, but I have to agree with you on that pick. There are a lot of rumors flooding up right now, like you said, about Richasset and Klingon taking that top spot. But I think the potential to be dynamic, like you said, for Sarr is just too high for the Hawks to not take. Like you said, Clint Capella, he's a lob threat and he can protect the rim a little bit, but what Alex Sarr brings to the table is a lot more than that. And a lot of people are comparing him to Wemby just because of the height, the wingspan. He moves pretty well. But I think probably a better comparison for Sarr would be someone like Bam Adebayo. He doesn't shoot the ball that much, but
I like that a lot.
yeah, he can guard all 5 positions. He's smart, like you said. He has a few dribble moves in the bag, which is always good for a center. And yeah, it'll be good for the Hawks to have someone dynamic if they end up not trading Murray. But the likelihood for me is, or at least what I'm thinking, is that one of those 2 guards is going to be gone this offseason.
The different ways the Hawks can go in this offseason is so, it's really interesting to me because they're just at, the biggest crossroad, I think, for anybody in this entire offseason, where they have a roster that's supposed to compete and the first overall pick. And so it still seems like they should tank, which is wild, right? But yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what they do.
Alrighty. Second on the draft lottery. We got somebody's favorite team.
Whoever could that be?
Finn Noel's own Washington Wizards.
Yes. I'm for the first time in a long time, I'm proud to be a Wizards fan because of this pick. We have a lot of options.
This is a good place to be, yeah.
I was watching the draft lottery. My heart was like, oh man, it was beating so fast every single time I saw him go to turn up the paper with the team logo on it. I'd be like, please don't be Washington. And then we ended up with 2, which I'm really happy with.
It's not bad.
Yeah. If we could get Sarr, that'd be awesome. But in this mock draft, of course, Lucky has taken him. So I think I'm going to go with someone who most people aren't projecting high at all right now. It's someone, if anyone read my article or watched my TikTok on the NBA mock draft, the person that I want the Wizards to take the most, and that's Rob Dillingham. He's very, very low on a lot of mocks right now. People are, I think criticizing him for his wingspan and his height, but I think, just from what I've seen out of his game, that he is going to play incredibly well on the NBA level. Something that you've seen with a lot of guys who are sort of not shot chuckers, but tough shot makers in college, is that they generally translate to the NBA because they can make those tough shots. If you look at a guy like Imani Bates, he's another one of my favorite players, and so I've watched him a lot, and he was a shot chucker, and he didn't have a lot of other traits that boded well for NBA talent, and he was falling out of a lot of mock drafts, but he ended up going late. I think he was in the 50s last year, and he's been torching the G League this year. I would bet a lot of money on him getting some real rotation minutes for the Cavs next year. And a guy like Cole Anthony is another guy that comes to mind who was shot chucking a lot in North Carolina, but he can make shots, and that's what you need to do at the NBA level. And when you look at Rob Dillingham, not only does he have that very tough shot making ability, but he has handles, and he is very, very fast. And I think a dynamic scorer like him, we keep using the word dynamic in this podcast here, but a dynamic scorer like him is going to do incredible. And the Wizards everyone knows the Wizards are looking for a point guard. Tyus Jones is basically already gone. There's no way we're really going to be re-signing him this offseason. So replacing him with a guy like Rob Dillingham, who is electric, I am very, very high on his scoring ability. I think he'd make the Wizards very exciting. He'd pair well with Bilal Coulibaly, who plays very similarly, very fast. And yeah, it'd be, I think, the best selection, even though there's lots of other names that people are taking here.
Well, and it's kind of doubling down on, weren't you guys the number 1 fast-paced team in the league last year?
We were. Yeah, we had the highest pace.
So, I think it's doubling down on that. And I think, going for a pace thing, the Pacers were second, and you saw how well they did this year, making it to the conference finals. I think one question I do have is, when you have a second overall pick, obviously you think he's better than a Cole Anthony, but you're saying he's a shot chucker or whatever, which I don't even know if that's entirely true. Dillingham's a great prospect. What else does he show other than a Cole Anthony that shows he could be more than that?
His finishing ability, I think, is very high. Basically everything on the offensive end I'm very high on with Dillingham. In terms of defense, that's where people are a little bit scared, just because he has, he's got, I think, a smaller wingspan than his height, which isn't great. And I think he's quite short. He's 6'1", But the offensive talent that he shows reminds me of Kyrie Irving in a lot of ways, where Kyrie can get to the rim and he can finish.
I like that comparison a lot.
Like watching him finish at the rim, it reminds me a lot of Kyrie Irving. The ability to stop and start, which is something that Jalen Brunson and Shea have been using a lot to become some of the best players in the league this past year. Dillingham has a lot of that. Basically, I just think that he will be able to score very easily. He's also showing some flashes of passing ability, but mostly scoring on the offensive end is what I like most about Dillingham. He's probably a higher ceiling Cole Anthony, somewhere between Cole Anthony and Kyrie.
Yeah. Well, you want the Kyrie without like the Kyrie like craziness.
Yes. No, I don't think he's crazy. I really hope not. That would not be good for us.
Yeah, I feel like all the Kentucky prospects are going under the radar in the lottery just because of the poor March Madness performance from the entire roster. So I like Rob Dillingham going this high. I really hope it's not a Jordan Poole case again where his shot chucking ends up going like 40% from the field and ruining their consistency. But I think Rob Dillingham's a more mature scorer. I think he can uses agility to his advantage more than Jordan Poole could, and I hope he gets the ball in the hands and becomes at least the number 1 or number 2 option on the offense if he goes to the Wizards.
Also, if you look at the track record for Kentucky guards, like it's really, really good.
It's pretty. It's a staple in the lottery. Let's just say that.
All right, moving on to number 3.
Number 3, we got the Houston Rockets. It's my turn to pick. I think with the Rockets being, I'm pretty sure, the youngest team in the league, they don't need more wild cards and more like offensive scoring like they have with Cam Whitmore coming off the bench, Jalen Green, Tari Eason developing, Jabari Smith. I think they need someone who can be trustworthy. He won't be a number 1 option right out of the gate, but with Şengün coming off an injury, probably not going to be able to play 35 minutes a game, I think Donovan Clingan would be a great fit in Houston just because of his dependability from his great performance in March Madness. I think being the number one guy on that UConn team who brought them to the victory. And I think with Houston being as young as they are, they need that dependability on the inside. And having the versatility between a center who's very agile and can use his body very well, like Alperen Şengün, and when he goes off, you get a big body who can set screens, be great in the pick and roll, who can provide mismatches on offense and defense. And yeah, I think, like I said, just someone who's dependable for the Houston Rockets, someone who they can trust on the defensive side and just to do their job.
So do you imagine him and Şengün playing alongside, at least in the rookie season, or like coming off the bench maybe?
I could see if Alperen Şengün improves his 3-point shooting a little bit, they can run like the Davis DeMarcus Cousins lineup kind of, with Şengün at the 4 and Clingan at the 5. But for his rookie year, I think he's gonna play a vital role off the bench and get his development up. Hopefully, develop a bit more of a jump shot. And with a young team like that, he's gonna get plenty of touches. Everybody's gonna get plenty of touches on that team.
Yeah, I'm really big on Clingan just from the fact that, you know, I wouldn't say he's as good as a perimeter defender as Alex Sarr, but I would say he's a better offensive player, just like if you're gonna go for a 1-on-1. Like, he's really dominant in the post, and he has good touch. So I think he's a really good pick there, and a good, you know, folly to what you see in Şengün. He can instantly replace sort of what Şengün does, not like yet, but I can see him developing into that, and so them switching with the him coming off the bench could be really, really impactful.
Definitely. The thing that's coming to my mind, not to like diss on the pick, because I think, like you said, consistency and like not a wild card, I guess, is what you're looking for with the Rockets, and that's very true, especially with the culture that Ime Udoka has brought to them. But the first thing that I thought of was, who's their backup center right now? And it's Jock Landale. And Jock Landale has been playing okay, but he's signed to their roster for 3 more years now. I think he's got a team option or something for one of the last ones. But he's signed there for a little while, so I'm wondering, would you feel like they would trade Landale?
I think they can afford to trade Landale, especially getting like a 3-year contract off the books and getting somebody with as much potential as Klingon. If there's a good trade on the table, I'd trade Landale.
Yeah, that seems like the smart move for sure. Yeah, Klingon is awesome. He's been rising up draft boards significantly, so I like that. I like that he's going 3 here.
Oh yeah,
What's his wingspan? Is it like 7'8"?
it's huge.
I feel like I looked and it was like 7'8", and I was like shocked.
I will look into it right. 7'7".
Insane.
7'7".
Yeah. 7'2", right?
I think he's
I think he's.
He's 7'2" on height though too, right?
sorry. Yeah, I think he's the best interior defender in this draft class.
Yeah. You don't see that lanky of a prospect having such a big body on him who can set screens this early in his career. So I think he's a rare prospect.
I agree. Someone like Kessler for the Jazz has been amazing. Like one of the best rim protectors in the whole league in his rookie year.
I love Walker Kessler. He's got such a good career ahead of him. Everybody needs a guy like Walker Kessler.
All right. Number 4, San Antonio, building alongside Wemby. Now, there's a lot of different directions I can go here, and a couple players who I would definitely draft if it weren't for this one player I think slipping a little bit to me here. I already butchered his name earlier, but Zachary Richardsey is my pick here with San Antonio. And just because I think he's really valuable the way he can space the floor with his size, I think he can fit really well as a forward or even on the wing if they have a really jumbo lineup. I don't think they'll do that in San Antonio. I was sort of hoping to pair a guard, but maybe they'll do that with their 8th pick with Wemby. But I think taking Richardsey here is really good. He has just one of the most beautiful jumpers you've ever seen. Like it's just textbook. A couple of comparisons I've heard is Michael Porter Jr., where 6'10" and just can shoot the lights out. I'm hoping Richardsey could be a better defender than that, and maybe even more of a ball mover than that alongside Wemby. But even still, if that's all he ends up doing is catching and shooting and rebounding and giving them something, I think he can play that really well. And to get that out of a player here at 4 is something you can do. And I think he can play. A great thing about Richardsey is he can play just about alongside anybody in any system, and so getting him here in San Antonio is really good alongside Wemby.
Yeah, he's going to be a threat on the offensive side from day one. Like, if he hits his shots, he's dangerous. That's a hard shot to guard.
Well, that's exactly it. It's really, you can't block it. You can barely get your hand in his face. And he's able to play up a couple positions, I think, like I was saying, where he's going to have smaller guys guarding him. I would like to see more, like him develop a little bit more. But, that's what you're taking here in this draft, is you're not taking a for sure guy, a surefire guy. So to be able to add him to San Antonio is something I think I have to jump on here.
I think he's going to have a similar trajectory as Grady Dick did in his regular season. I think it might take him a year just to get used to because he's played overseas. He hasn't played NBA basketball against like the physicality that it brings. So I think it will take him a year to adjust, but he's going to be a dangerous prospect in his second year. I'm
sort of hoping he'll be able to start at where Grady Dick ended.
I hope so, yeah.
Right? I don't think he should be playing in the G League
He won't go to the G League like Grady did, but it might take him a bit. Because I don't think he's going to start day one if he's on the Spurs.
And I don't need him to. Like, I don't think the Spurs are really trying to contend this year.
He's just got to get his shot going.
Yeah.
I think the role that he can play for the Spurs, I think what Brice Sachet can do for the Spurs especially is sort of provide a replacement at that 3-4 position for Keldon Johnson. Because what Keldon Johnson has done for the Spurs is good, right? He's solid, he's strong, he's a bulldog, I guess is a good word to use when describing Keldon Johnson. He can do a lot of things, he can spot up very well, but he's a little bit old, and I don't think he's going to fit the timeline quite with this Vassell, Wembanyama, Trey Jones type of core that they have going on. So bringing in a guy like Brice Sachet, who even though he is only like probably 5-6 years younger than Johnson, he provides a better skill set to fit Wembanyama's team. And he's younger, so it'll be better time-wise as well.
Alrighty, on to number 5, Detroit Pistons.
Yes, sir, I guess that is me.
Should have gotten the first overall. Fell all the way to 5. What are you doing with this pick, Finn?
Oh, man, I feel bad. I'm sorry for any Pistons fans out there. Our good friend
Weren't they favorite to get like the first overall pick for like 5 years?
They've been really bad for a really long time.
Like the last 3 at least.
Yeah.
I can't believe they fired Monty Williams.
That's insane.
That is, I have no idea what the hell is going on with that.
I would take a pause for the draft for a second. First of all, I think he's a good coach. Like I think everybody's going to agree with that.
He won Coach of the Year in Phoenix.
And you're going to give him the worst roster in the league and expect him to. What do you expect from him? I don't know what you expect from him.
Yeah.
And that, like, just to fire him.
It must be a locker room deal. It must be something to do in that locker room.
Even still,
we just don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of drama with Jaden Ivey earlier in the year. I don't think Jaden Ivey was very happy with his usage rate, and he was sort of being used as more of a defensive guy alongside Cade. So maybe the Pistons front office is really high on Ivey, and they don't like how Monty Williams was using him. But that's like the only possible reason I could see for Monty Williams wanting to leave. It's so confusing. They're gonna regret it for sure because I don't know who else is on the market right now.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
I guess Darvin Ham.
Yeah, they could take also the UConn coach as well, Dan Hurley.
I think he re-signed with UConn.
I'm pretty sure Dan Hurley.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, he re-signed for like 6 years.
Never mind then.
Because I'm pretty sure the Lakers offered him a deal too.
I heard about the Lakers
UConn.
deal. I didn't know if it was I didn't know that he re-signed with UConn.
He would have been a great
he still
NBA
could
coach
be.
too. I know.
Just gotta wait 6 years now, I guess.
I mean, 6 years is basically 2. Or like 3. You know, like the way contracts are. Anyway.
All right. Detroit pick, Finn. Who you got?
I am gonna go with the guy that I don't know if this was actually on recording or not, but before the draft we were talking about prospects a little bit. And Cam actually had this guy very, very high in his rankings, Matas Buzelis. Yeah. He was a top prospect for a little while. I remember seeing clips of him in high school. Everyone was saying he was like the number 1 pick, and he was going to be really, really good in the league. But as he played his season at the G League Ignite alongside Ron Holland, I think he fell in a lot of mocks. But I'm still quite high on his ability. He's not very fast, which scares me a little bit. But for his height, I think that he can do a lot of things that a lot of players can't. In a lot of ways, he's
very polished.
Yeah, it's almost a less athletic Brice Sachet is a good way to describe him, I think. He's got great defensive potential. He can shoot the ball well, although it's been streaky. He has great form. He can get to spots in the mid-range. I know during All-Star Weekend, him and Ron Holland, I think, were playing in the Rising Stars game, in that little tournament thing, and watching him, he was getting a lot of shots in the mid-range off. And I think that's something that he could do for Detroit. Because Detroit has so many young players, what they really need is a shooting wing. Because Asar Thompson, if he is going to be the wing of the future, he is not a guy that can shoot the jump shot very well. So having a guy like Buzelis, who has very high shooting potential, would be great to slot alongside them. So yeah, I even though it's not what the Pistons want, obviously they would have preferred to grab a guy like Sarr, or a guy like Ricochet. They're going to get someone who's decently solid and will probably help them out in the future.
So here's my thing with Booz Ellis. I really don't believe that he's going to be able to develop a jumper. I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's a really smart player. I think he's a great passer. I don't know. I just don't believe it. Like in the G League, he was under 30%. I know he has a bit of like off the dribble. We've seen some of that. I can't. If you're under 30%, I'm gonna have to see more to buy it. That's all. That's my thing.
It's tough going into a Pistons roster with like very streaky shooters to begin with. So I hope he gets enough touches to.
Outside of that, I think he's a great player.
Gain momentum in his rookie year, but I think he's got the maturity from playing in the G League to adapt faster than some of the overseas players. So I could see it being a good pick this early.
Yeah, and once again, like you're just drafting for potential here.
If you look at a guy like Victor Wembanyama, and his shooting stats before he got into the league, Wemby's shooting stats were absolutely atrocious, at least from three. I don't remember exactly what his free throw percentage was, but I don't know. I think a lot of the times playing in the NBA with a lot more space and a lot, like the passes are a lot more, like to say on the money, I guess is the best way to put that. The passes are more accurate. They're right in the seams for them, and that improves a lot of shooting percentages, especially with shooting coaches helping them out. But we will see. We'll see for sure. I agree that the 30% is a little scary, but I guess the Pistons have to hope.
He's definitely a raw prospect.
Well, it's also just the fact that he's going to a Pistons team that I don't think has developed a prospect in since Cade. I don't even think Cade Cunningham has developed. I think he's the same player since he would join the league.
Cade's the worst first round pick since
first overall.
First overall pick since 2017, 18.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Zion's been better, Paolo's been better, Edwards obviously better, and then
don't forget Wemby.
Yep. He needs to develop, man.
Well, he has the. I think it's just a tough situation. Yeah. I really do.
All right, number 6. Got the Charlotte Hornets. This team is. It's hard to build, man. Oh my goodness. I was thinking of a player like Ron Holland, but this team needs some offense. They need to score. So, I think what they need is some maturity on that team. Someone who can be a leader, because LaMelo is a great leader, but he's been very injury prone the last few years. So, I think one leader that could make this team very versatile when it comes to scoring, when it comes to teamwork, it's the super senior Dalton Knecht out of Tennessee. He was my prediction to be this March Madness's top guy, and he's one of the most mature prospects I've seen the last few years. He's so polished on his offensive game. He's so well-rounded. Just your classic 6'7" 2-guard, your 2 to 3 6'7" shooter. Just hits his shots. Played 5 years of college basketball. I mean, in a field of such raw prospects, he's one of the most. I said this about Klingon, but he's one of the most dependable guys, and like the Rockets, that's what the Hornets need right now. They've had way too many busts in the last few years, and I really hope Dalton Knecht can be just a trustworthy player for them. Someone who can score, someone who can be a leader. Simple as that. I think Dalton Knecht is just going to be a success in this league, no matter where he goes.
I think that's one thing that is evident that Charlotte is missing is a leader. If you look at all their young players and what they've done, it's I'm not so sure about that.
It's such a mess.
So getting a super senior like you said to come in and sort of take over the dressing room. I don't know if a 22-year-old will be able to do that. It's a tall task, but
yeah. At the end of the day, it is his first year in the NBA, so it'll come down to his rookie year and how many touches he gets and the role he plays on the team. Just got to wait and see.
Yeah, it's tough that Charlotte is in the position that they're in, dropping down to the sixth pick. I know that they weren't like one of the bottom teams, but I think they were like bottom 4 or 5 in the East. And they
definitely dropped.
They
would
have loved, I bet, to have drafted a guy like Klingon or a guy like Sarr, just because I think Mark Williams is the only like big man that like has potential that I can even think of on their team.
Yeah.
Nick Richards is, I think he was like 6th man of the year for like top in the rankings for 6th man of the year for a bit, but I don't know where the hell he went. Yeah, but like I think you made a really good pick, Cam. Connect he's consistent and he's strong, which I don't know if you mentioned, but that is huge at the NBA level. Yeah, he's going to come in and he's going to be consistent, and it's going to be nice for the Hornets to have someone that they can rely on.
All right, we got Portland Trailblazers, 7th pick.
All right, so I'm looking around at my possible players, and the issue with Portland over the years in the draft is they keep, drafting these 6'5" combo-ish guards who can just score. And look, here's the thing. I'm looking around, and I would just love to draft somebody different, like a long defender. And I think the closest thing I can get to it, and it's a player I really, really do like in this draft, is Cody Williams.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah. Jalen Williams' brother, who is on...
so underrated in this lottery.
Yeah, he's a freshman from Colorado. He's very long, 7-foot wingspan. I think he's still 6'5", 6'6", so it's still nothing out of the ordinary. But he's a great defender. His shooting came along really well, I think, this season. I think he's a little streaky. He's got good touch. I wouldn't say he's an explosive athlete or anything, but he's got good touch around the rim. A solid handle. He can create a little bit for his own. And I think he's sort of similar to like a Thompson's twin, I think with a better shot almost. I think that's sort of the player I see in him. And if you're getting a Thompson twin here at 7, I think you're going to take that in this draft.
That's a really, really good comparison to use. The Thompson twins with a better jump shot. Yeah, I can't even think of anything else to add to that because that was so perfect.
Thank you.
If you look at yeah, of course. If you look at what his brother did, a lot of coming out of Santa Clara, a lot of people weren't expecting him to do too much. No one really gets drafted out of Santa Clara, right? So
yeah.
Although I think was Pajemski from Santa Clara? Do you guys know? Did Pajemski get drafted the same year or the year after?
Let me look it up.
Sorry, that was a complete tangent, but I was just thinking.
He was a rookie this year.
Pajemski was this year, right?
Yeah, so he would have been the next year.
A rookie this year.
After. I was going to say no one gets drafted from Santa Clara, and then 2 guys from Santa Clara get drafted back-to-back years.
And both of them make all rookie
lucky
team.
if he went there.
Brandon Pajemski college stats. He went to Santa Clara. Illinois, then Santa Clara.
Okay.
Yeah. Can't go wrong with some Brandon Pajemski tangents.
So random, but yeah. Anyways, Jalen Williams coming out of college, no one was really expecting him to do too much, especially considering the school that he played for, which I guess he put Santa Clara on the map now. But I think that similar thing is going to be happening with Williams because Colorado is also not known too much for harvesting NBA talent, I guess. But he has almost the exact same skill set that his brother has, but I would say coming into the draft he has a better jump shot. And that is gonna
yeah, and it's
I agree, yeah.
It's one thing, like in this draft, it's a lot of developable players, like we said earlier. There's not many Dalton Connects out there, so I think you don't know if he's going to develop as well as his brother did. You can't say that for sure. You can't say that at all. But like you said, coming into this year, coming into his rookie season, he's definitely a higher rated prospect. And, I think that's mainly because of his jump shot. And if there's some DNA between them that's, be really good in the NBA, I would jump on it. If you're the Trailblazers here, it will be interesting to see how they manage all those guards, though. It's always the question, I think, with them, and I don't know. It's the best player available, I think, for me, and that's why I took him. And I wanted to pick him anyway. I really wanted to take him.
Is that your favorite player in the draft, Lucky?
A little bit, yeah. Like, if the Raptors kept their pick, he's who I think I would want them to pick. And if I would have taken him at 4 if Ricochet wasn't there. Like, I'm serious. Like, if Ricochet wasn't there, I would have taken him at 4.
I like that take. I like it.
All right, next one.
All right.
Pick 8.
Yeah.
All right, we're on to the San Antonio Spurs with the Toronto Raptors pick. But who do you got at number 8, Finn?
I am going to take... Well, there's actually 2 guys that have sort of slipped from the top of the board that are available here. One guy who was...
I think I know one of them.
Yeah. One of them was really high and is falling now. And then one of them was low-ish and is now raising up with his performance in the combine and his workouts. And I am going to take the guy who's been rising. And that's going to be Stephon Castle. Playing at UConn, he adjusted his role, which I think is probably my favorite thing about him as a player. In high school, he was like the score-first point guard, and coming into UConn, a team that was coming off a national championship and like already had a very solid core, I think Dan Hurley asked him to sort of play to his natural strength, and that is defense, because he's so solid athletically. He's very strong. He's got quick feet. And just to pass and play off ball. And he adjusted to that, and he performed amazing at that role. And if that's something that he can do consistently, like, play whatever role the coach is asking for them, going to the Spurs where, you need to adjust around Wembanyama, right? That is going to be something that's huge for him. And he's sort of a guard forward in a sense. He's a very big, strong point guard. I think that he could play forward if they need him to slot in there. I'm very high on Trey Jones. I've said this a few times on different podcasts and videos and stuff. So I don't know whether they'll be starting Castle or Jones. If they've selected, I forget, who did we take it 4 here, or who did the Spurs take it 3? Sorry,
Spurs.
It was Ricochet, right?
Ricochet. Okay,
and so he's a good guard. Like I was saying,
like
I wanted to I wanted to get a guard for Wemby, and I think that's what you're getting here.
Yeah, I guess, you said it well. We've gotten a wing, and now we've gotten a guard to sort of solidify the young core of the Spurs.
Here's the thing. I'm also not that big on Stephon Castle because, once again, I don't think he's a shooter. And that's something, I think he's really good all over the court and every other facet of the game, but to be a successful guard, he has to develop a jump shot in this league, and I want to see it to believe it once again, and that's my my nitpick on Stephon Castle, and I want to see him do it outside. I know he was a touted high school prospect. I want to see what it looks like when there's no infrastructure of UConn there.
I think, yeah,
that is a very, very good point.
I think he can thrive with a guy like Popovich coaching him, though.
It's probably the best spot for him to go to, if anywhere.
I think it's me. On to the Memphis Grizzlies. They had a weird roster this year. I think they broke the record for most missed games by like a mile this year in NBA history. So I'm going to go off what I think will be their starting lineup this year. I think it's going to be Ja, Desmond, Gigi Jackson, Jaren Jackson Jr., and the guy who I'm picking will slot right into the 4. Falling down the draft boards to number 9, I'm going to go with Ron Holland. He's a pure athlete. And having a lob threat like for Ja Morant to not only draw a double team on the perimeter, guarding a drive and a jump shot, that leaves Ron Holland wide open for a backdoor cut lob, and that it would be just so deadly with the 3-point threats that Jaren has and Bane has and Gigi has, and I think this is a perfect fit for Ron Holland. He'd be small at the 4 position. It would be kind of like a Pascal Siakam, but more explosive, like a small forward that can create his own offense. I really hope he can develop a consistent 3-pointer, because he was not very consistent from the perimeter in the G League. So, yeah, I think that's what Memphis needs, is someone who's explosive, who can defend any position, because they don't really have a lockdown defender that they can really trust to guard anybody's number 1. So I like that fit. I like Ron Holland on the Grizzlies.
He's sort of just like an athletic freak. Like, watching him play, just the
He's
power
a
that he
freak.
plays with is insane.
If he develops a 3-point shot and like a consistent offensive game, he's going to be one of the best prospects in the draft.
I would say that he is probably my favorite and has the highest ceiling in the whole draft, for sure. He was I think the consensus number 1 pick coming out of high school. I think he went to
For a while, yeah.
Duncanville, I think that's where he was playing. And I fell in love with him, like, watching him there. He's so athletic. The mentality that he plays with is incredible. It reminds me of Jimmy Butler, because he's just like, I'm going to run through you and I'm going to beat you. And yeah, if he can develop a jump shot, I know his jump shot right now is kind of odd. He sort of swings it and has his elbow tucked in like way too far. But NBA shooting coaches are always, like, if you have the right shooting coach, you can adjust the jump shot. So if he can do that,
Him and Ja would be nuts. Do you know how many plays of the month are just going to be Memphis Grizzlies plays if Ron Holland plays with Ja Morant?
The pressure that they're going to put on the rim, like, the rim's going to be freaking out. The rim's going to be like...
That'd be
the
nuts.
rim's going to be pressured. It's too much. He can't handle it.
it's going to develop anxiety because John and Ron Holland are always there.
I also think it just brings versatility to the front court, because Jaren is a nice stretch big. He doesn't move incredibly fast, but he's a good rim protector. He's a good switcher, and having two people who can do that on the defensive side at the 4 and the 5 is going to be nice, while also having versatility on the offensive side with one who can rim run at a high rate and one who can create a threat from the 3-point line. Yeah, I think it's a good mix.
Well, and even if he doesn't get a jump shot, at least he has a calling card where he's just gonna bully you. And,
it's kind of like Clippers Blake.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knew he couldn't really shoot, and he did develop one in Detroit, obviously, but like, everyone knew he couldn't shoot, and he still averaged 25 a game. Utah Jazz. Lucky you got it.
I'm gonna eat some crow here, because I know I've been knocking players this entire draft for not having a jumper, but here I am drafting Nikola Topic. All right.
He's such a Utah Jazz player.
I can see him in a Jazz uniform, like, right now in my eyes. And
he's gonna be such a Mike Conley type player.
I think he's a really, really savvy player as a point guard, and he's a big guard too. I think he can sort of fill. He can sort of be. I'm not gonna, Josh Giddey a little bit. That's sort of what you wanna. Early.
I could see that.
Sophomore Josh Giddey is like what I want him to be. What I imagine him being when I look at him in Utah. They sort of need at least a young guard on their roster to come and develop there, and I think he just fits really well to be able to do that. Am I worried about the injuries? Yes. Am I worried about the jumper? Yes. Am I worried about his athleticism? Yeah. But I think he's a savvy player and he can work it out. And just if you're looking at a point guard here, I think he's the best bang for your buck here at number 10.
Yeah, he's got a very high basketball IQ, and that's always good in rookies coming into the NBA. So, he does have a lot of question marks. I still think he's going to be a success in the league.
Might as well. I don't really know what else the Jazz would do
I think it's a
in
gamble.
this situation.
I'm just saying it's a gamble.
They're in such a strange spot as a team. They've been sort of rebuilding, but their core is very, I don't know, it's a mixture of young and old players right now. So it'll be cool if they can get a guy like Topic and he ends up being better than a Mike Conley or a sophomore Josh Giddey, then they'd love that. But if not, then they have Keontae George to rely on at that guard position anyways. So.
All right, on to number 11.
All right, I have a strange pick.
Okay.
I have the Bulls here at 11. And obviously they're all over the news right now.
Yeah, they are very directionless right now.
I don't know what's happening, and if this video releases and a week after this podcast comes out, Zach LaVine is traded, then I don't know, this pick could be completely wrong. I don't know, maybe they'll even trade this first round pick for something, because I have no idea what the Bulls office is doing. So whether they're going to a rebuild or they're trying to help out Vucevic, DeRozan, LaVine, I don't know, but we'll see. In my previous mock draft, I had Reed Shepherd going here, but considering they just traded for Josh Giddey, I think they're maybe in need of some wing depth, especially if Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan are sort of, maybes in terms of whether or not they are staying on the team. So I gotta dig deep here for a player that'll fit that spot, and I think I'm gonna go with Devin Carter. He's old. He's older. He's coming off, I think, his 4th year at Providence. I'm not 100% sure. But he's a solid prospect, and I think he's going to play well in the league. He's sort of an all-around guy. He defends well. He shoots well. He's fast. He led his team at Providence, which is huge. A lot of the times, guys that led their team in college, if they do well, at least, at leading their team, then that mentality translates into the NBA. They're a lot more mature. And he's all around, and considering the Bulls don't really know what they're doing right now, you can't really go wrong with a guy like Devin Carter. So I'm going to take it.
I like that. I think that's going to pan out really well if Chicago does go in the route of a rebuild, having a 4th-year college player going straight into the league who can help them immediately. I like that pick. Simple as that.
He's drastically improved his jumper in his last year here at Providence. And just like Finn said, he does everything well. He's, another one of these players, few and far between in this draft, but, I think he can be solid from day one in the NBA and be, a good bench piece and, maybe develop into a nice starting piece too.
Alrighty. On to number 12. The OKC Thunder somehow have a lottery pick after being the first overall team, and I'm about to bless them. My heart dropped when Finn made his pick, but I think Reed Shepherd is going to be a perfect fit on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think Reed Shepherd out of the gate is going to be a bit better of a player than Lou Dort, so I think if he does go to the Thunder, he could start day one. And if he does, Shea and Reed Shepherd are going to be the modern-day John Wall and Bradley Beal. 100%. Reed Shepherd averaged 50 and 50 in college. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. He had a obviously subpar March Madness performance, scoring, 3 points, and not scoring a single point over the first 3 quarters. But that's one game. He's one of, I keep going for this in the lottery, but he's one of the most mature prospects for his age. He was one of the biggest scouted high school players, and he's so explosive for being a 6'3" sharpshooter. He can attack the rim at will. He can score at any place on the court. And having that second option next to Shea, while also having such depth with Jalen Williams and Lou Dort and Chet Holmgren and God knows who else. That team's going to be stacked in a few years. But he's going to be so consistent. I think he's going to find his shot immediately. Especially on a team as deep as that and they're all around the same age with such good they've got some of the best chemistry in the entire league, and a guy who just came off one of the worst games probably of his life in March Madness. He's going to need that chemistry from people around his age who he can both relate to and look up to, and I think that'll help a guy like Reed Shepherd. He's gonna adapt to the league immediately.
He's really fallen in this draft. I've seen some mocks of him going
I could see him going top 5, 100%. And the fact that we let him go to the first overall or first in the Western Conference is crazy.
Yeah, the Thunder are gonna be good for a really long time.
Very, very long time.
Yeah. That 50-50 shooting splits is even more impressive when you look at the type of shots that he's getting in a game, because he's obviously, at Kentucky, he was, the highest, their highest touted player or whatever. Everyone was looking to guard him, so he was taking a lot of off-the-dribble threes, a lot of really deep threes, a lot of threes that are, super, super fast on the release, and he's got consistent form. I know the people listening here can't see, but he shoots, right at the top of his head, almost it's like a fast Larry Bird jump shot, and it works really, really well. It's a high release.
So spot on.
Yeah.
He's so polished. He reminds me of so much of Bradley Beal when he was carrying those Wizards teams on his own, averaging 30. He scores at will. He's so polished he's a first year, right? Second year? He's a lock for this lottery. I'd be shocked if he doesn't become a star in this league. No matter where he goes. He could go he could go to the Charlotte Hornets for all I care.
That's a bold. I don't think anybody could walk on to Charlotte and be good. That's a bold take. Charlotte's that bad at developing players.
I was just going to say, the way that we're hyping him up, we should have taken him way earlier, but
yeah,
it's too late for that now, I guess.
I was very close to giving Memphis Grizzlies Reed Shepherd just out of how good he is, but Ron Holland was just the perfect fit, and the fact that Reed fell to OKC, Reed's the reason I picked Kentucky. He looked like one of the best players in the entire NCAA, and then they got out first round, and my bracket was toast. Yeah.
With my pick here, I'm really confounded, guys. There's names here. So first of all, I'm just looking at Sacramento, right? And I think they have a lot of young talent for a pretty solid team. I think they're full up on guards. I think they're full up on wings. I think they have room for a backup center, a backup big, right? And here's the thing, guys. I don't want to be the one to draft Zach Edey, okay? I really don't. And so I'm not. I'm going to draft Khalil Ware. Out of Indiana, sophomore. He's a player I really want. I really want him for the Raptors. He's probably one of the biggest, he's one of the players where he's a huge what if. He's shot 40% at Indiana, and he's 7 feet tall. He's a big center, and it was 2 blocks, 40% from 3, and I think if you can get that combination in a 7-foot body, you're gonna take that. Did he have some turnover problems? Can he dribble the ball? Probably not. Definitely against NBA defenses, it's going to be a struggle. But I believe he can figure it out, and if he does, this is going to be a great pick for Sacramento as they continue to just improve on one of the best spacing teams in the league. I think if you're looking outside of their big two, they're just adding even more spacing to that combo, and we're seeing it's really tough.
They run such a good 4-1 offense.
And I wanted to take him. I like him a lot with the Raptors. So I'm gonna take him. Realistically, I think Zach Edey might go before him in the actual draft. But if I'm the Sacramento Kings, this is who I'm taking, and Khalil Ware here with the 13th pick.
I think Khalil Ware's a great modern big.
And that's my whole thing. I can't take Zach Edey after just preaching about how much I love.
He might be a reach, but he's useful for a team like Sacramento who just missed out on the playoffs. So I think he's going to be an instant help.
Yeah. I think if he can develop into a guy with a consistent jumper and can play good defense inside interior, I'll take that as a backup.
He'll be in the league for a long time.
I'm hoping. I'm hoping he does that for the Raptors.
He just loves to jump for joy, eh? Watching some of the highlights, he's like a Daniel Gafford with a jump shot. Is the best way for me to describe him.
He's a little. I don't think he's as solid as a Daniel Gafford though. He's like, I don't think you're gonna consistently get like I know there was issue like he's a sophomore his first year. I can't remember where he was playing, but the coach basically just called him out, basically saying he doesn't work hard at all. And so that's something.
Oh.
Yeah. But he turned it around in Indiana after transferring. So I'm going to take him here.
All right. We got the final pick of the lottery.
Let's go.
Finn, take it away. Portland Trailblazers. What are you copping for
There's
them?
there's a lot of different ways to go here, because especially we're not so deep, but we're decently deep at the draft now, where we've gotten rid of all the guys that are like, if you don't take these guys in the lottery, then like, what are you doing? So now I sort of get to just choose from the pool.
You got Cody Williams on that roster too.
Yeah, it'd be solid.
Who are you adding?
The thing that I think of with the Trailblazers here is if you look at the year that they had, obviously Lucky mentioned that they have a lot of guards who are like solid scorers, right, and solid shooters, but they don't have much depth otherwise. Like other than that, they had some injuries. I think Shaedon Sharp was injured this year. I know Malcolm Brogdon was in and out of the lineup. Scoot was in and out of the lineup, and for a quick story, I do a quiz every single day. It's like which players started for each team today or whatever. And every time I would go to do the Portland Trailblazers lineup, I would have to type in 1 million players into this quiz, because no one would ever be playing for them, and it'd be the most random G League guys. Duop Reith started for like half of their games. Anyways, and that made me realize that the Trailblazers have almost no depth. They're lacking in depth other than at the guard position right now. And so I figured I would take someone who, flashes some high potential, and that's going to be, TJ Salone. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he is from...
Oh, Tijon.
From...
I think Tijon?
Tijon,
Yeah.
That's his name?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay. He's
another Frenchie.
Okay. Yeah. Lots of French people going in the last few drafts. But he's all right. He's super athletic. He's shown potential on cuts and catching lobs and things like that. He looks decently strong. His shot form is a decent, like, it looks nice and it's quick, which I think bodes well for shooting in the NBA. Might not do too great on a team where there's not that many people to space the floor, but hopefully he can develop alongside the other members of Portland's young core. And yeah, overall, at this point in the draft, taking someone with a high upside is never a bad idea. So they're going to get another guy that, if players are injured, then Salon can play. Like sort of a plug-and-play guy.
Yeah, he's... Honestly, I think he's a player that you really have to believe in your development, your staff, everything to be able to get the most out of him. And, I think Portland can do it. They've done it before. And once again, if you're looking at the just like forwards and centers, anybody not a guard right now, it's really slim pickings. And so I think getting a guy like him with his athleticism is a great pick.
Yeah, he had a sneaky good season this year.
Also, I want to say I really like Duop Reef, by the way. Don't diss on him. I like him.
All right, is that it?
All right, that's the draft. I'll read it out for those at home. The final, yes. So first overall, I took Alex Sarr to Atlanta. Second overall, Finn selected to Washington, Rob Dillingham. Houston, number 3, Cam selected Donovan Clingan. Me, San Antonio, 4th. I took Richase. I still can't say his name, even though I picked him. 5th was Matas Buzelis for going to Detroit. 6th, Charlotte, Dalton Connect. 7, Portland, Cody Williams. 8, Stephon Castle going to San Antonio. 9, Ron Holland to Memphis. 10, Nikola Topic to Utah. Chicago, Devon Carter. 12, Oklahoma City was Reed Shepherd, fell in this draft. 13, Khalil Ware to Sacramento. And finally, Finn, can you say his name again?
Tijan Salone. I have no idea.
and he goes 14th to Portland. A couple of names that were not selected in this draft. Zach Edey. Tristan De Silva didn't get selected. Tyler Kolek, who I do like. And a lot of, slim pickings here. Nothing really else that's jumping out at me that didn't get picked here.
One player that didn't get picked that I thought should have is Jacoby Walter. I think he's going to be such a good scorer. He's such a versatile scorer. I think he's going to have an instant role on some of these like 15 to 20 draft pickers, and I think he's gonna have a great career too. Thought I'd give him a shout out. He's someone I want the Raptors to go after.
He reminds me a lot of Aaron Nesmith for Indiana. He's got that slow jump shot, which can develop eventually, and if he speeds it up, will be really good at the NBA level. And he can also he's athletic, so he can defend well.
Alrighty. Thank you for joining us on the Shutter Sports Podcast. Be sure to follow or subscribe wherever you find podcasts, and don't be shy to join the discussion on any platform at Shutter Sports Media. Until next time, I'm Cam Stirling, joined by Finn Noel and Lucky Roberts, and this has been the Shutter Sports Podcast.